Hey everyone, how are you all? Good? But I see very few people on camera. Why is that so? Can I have each one of you on camera? As I said, we made only 30 minutes a day, right? Can we not see each other? So when you're on camera, you actually give a lot of energy to the speakers. Wonderful, wonderful. I see people coming on camera now. Everybody, everybody, everybody. Super. So welcome again to today's session. And today I'm really, really excited. Why? Because what we're going to cover today can actually change the way you handle interviews forever, not just once. Are you excited now? Yeah? To know what is it? Superb. So today we are focusing on how to turn those communication challenges we all face in our interviews. Okay, I'm sure you all have experienced those moments where you walk out of interview and you thought, I could have done better, right? Or I wish I would have handled that question differently, right? We all have that feeling, right? While we move out of that interview room, most of the time, right? At least it happened to me so many times, right? So let's understand now, over the past few sessions, we have actually built a strong foundation in communication, right? People who have, been attending all the sessions, we've completed 4, right? In communication, and today being the 5th, if I'm not wrong, right? Now we're doing this back to back, back to back. I've lost the count also, right? Okay. So we've discussed communication fundamentals, how what you say and how you say it makes a big difference. We also spoke about active listening as one of the key skill that can elevate your communication instantly. And I think in the previous session, we discussed about speaking with authority to fast track your career progress. Am I right? Yes. So today we are going to pull all these concepts together and apply them specifically to interviews. Yes, that's right. But before we get started, I want you all to think about your last interview. Did you face any communication challenge? Maybe you over explained something, or you rushed through your answers because you wanted to quickly finish it. You were nervous. Yeah? Did that happen with any one of you all? Yes or no? Okay. Fine. So today we are going to cover this common communication challenges you all face in your interviews. Okay? And I'm going to tell you different scenarios or different categories. And that will help you recognize where you stand or recognize yourself in one or more of these categories. Okay? So let's quickly jump onto that. Now, imagine the interviewer asks you to describe your role in a project. Okay? Very simple question. Simple, right? But what happens sometimes? Instead of focusing on the key contribution, you go into long, winded explanation, right? Of that entire project from start to finish. And halfway through, you realize that your interviewer has lost the interest, right? He's just nodding or he's looking here and there. Did that happen to anyone? Okay. Right? Now the interviewer asks you, why do you want to work here? Right? Instead of giving a clear and focused answer, you start explaining your entire career journey, talking about your past roles and how you've been thinking about this industry for years and whatnot. The interviewer asks you a direct question, like, what are your biggest achievement at your last role or your last job? What was your biggest achievement? Instead of getting to the point, you start listing all your responsibilities one by one. The interviewer is nodding, but he's also waiting for the answer to the original question. What was your achievement in your past role? Yeah? You were asked to describe a challenge you face. Instead of sticking to the key elements, you start explaining the entire background of that project. You explain the minor details that is not relevant to the question. You tend to provide too much detail when answering this question. You feel the need to explain every step of the project, not just the outcome. You include irrelevant details in your answers. You struggle to give short, concise answers. If this is you, then you belong to this number one category of overthinkers. Now, why overthinkers? Because you've got all the answers. It's not that you don't know, you've prepared. You know all the answers. But when it's time to speak, you start over-analyzing everything. Instead of delivering a clear, simple response, you end up over-explaining everything. How many of you do that? Yeah. Okay. A lot of people I can see smiling. Okay. So now let's get into the good part here. How do you flip this challenge into your interview winning moments? Challenge hai na ye. Now let's turn this, flip this. So how do you flip this? The flip here is you start with the outcome first. What do? You start with the outcome first. Keep it simple, get to the point. If this is the problem, if you fall in the category 1, overthinker. Yeah? Let me explain you how can you do that. Now, instead of giving that lengthy explanation, you can say probably, I led the team and increased my productivity or increased the productivity by 20%. Would you like more details on how we did that? Or if this is too short, I'll tell you another pro tip. Now, what happens when you do this? Instead of giving that entire story, narrating that entire thing, When you do this, you keep the conversation focused. Okay? So stay focused and concise. Think of your answers like headlines. Headlines याद है ना? Flashy. आज की ताजा खबर. ये. Right? Headlines for tonight. You get it in bullet points. Do you see that? Very impactful. So, think of your answers like headlines. Start with the most important point first. If you're asked why you want that job, say, I want this role because your mission aligns with my passion for sustainability, for example. Okay. And I have successfully led projects that reduces or that eliminates whatever it is by quantifying it with a number, say 15%. Be clear and very direct. Now, the pro tip here is think in bullet points. What was the challenge or the goal? What did you do? What was the challenge in the goal? What did you do? What was the result? Clear? Practice keeping your answers to 3 sentences. Max 4. Now your sentences cannot be in paragraphs. Be mindful of that. Okay? Don't say that Dipti said 3 sentences chalega, at the most 4. But don't assume that one sentence will be like one paragraph. Okay? Yeah. So practice keeping your answers in 3 sentences, at the most 4. And you will see that how naturally you'll be focused and concise. Yes? So how many of you all fall in this category? Okay. Let's see. We have a lot to cover. We have some more points to cover. You'll see this is not the only category that I fall into. Oh, I fall into this category also. Okay. Now another scenario. Your interviewer asks you, can you tell me about a challenge you faced managing a team or managing your team? Now you jump with an answer right away. And you realize after a certain point of time that you're talking about your individual challenge instead of the team situation. You getting? What a big blunder happens. What big blunder happened? You didn't give yourself time to fully understand the question. The interviewer asks you, what makes you a good fit for this role? Without pausing to think, you start listing your skills one after the other. And none of them directly relates to the job description. You are asked a technical question and you are unsure. And instead of taking a moment to consider your answer, you start talking immediately. While you are responding, you stumble, you fumble. It becomes clear that you haven't probably fully understood the question, or you were in so much hurry that you wanted to answer it without even knowing what to answer. You feel uncomfortable with that silence. You don't want to give that pause, that moment of pause. for a few seconds after the interviewer has completed the question. You tend to jump into an answer immediately. Start answering even, answering the question before fully processing the question, answering before fully processing the question. You start speaking just to fill that gap. Awkward gap hota hai na question hone ke baad. You can't handle that gap, that moment of silence. You want to answer quickly. Even if you are unsure of what to say. You don't give yourself time to think and respond. That awkward silence is like, nahi handle hota. You want to finish answering it quickly. Right? So when the interviewer finishes a question, what you have to do is, you jump into the answer even before understanding the question, right? Even before fully processing the question, because you are uncomfortable with the silence. You feel like you need to fill the space immediately. And this leads to unclear and sometimes incomplete answers in the interview. How many of you all resonate with this? Category number 2, the silence fillers. Category number 2 is silence fillers. Now, how do you flip this situation? I told, right, any and every challenge that we'll talk about today, we will talk about how to flip that in an interview scenario. Now, how do we flip this? You said silence is something that feels awkward to you. You feel silence is like your enemy. So now you have to own the pause, own that silence. This is how you'll flip that challenge. So you take that silence as an opportunity to think. When you get a question, take a breath. Say, that's a great question. Let me think for a moment. And this shows that you are thoughtful, you are deliberate. Rather than rushing through the answers, that pause, the few seconds of pause gives you that control and time to give a clear and more focused response. Getting it? Can you tell me a time you faced a conflict in a team? Instead of jumping immediately with a half-baked response, you pause. Can you tell me a time you faced conflict in a team? Pause, think for that moment, and then say. One challenge I faced was, when two of the members had conflicting ideas in how to proceed, or what was in making a decision in what was the next step in the project. I facilitated a discussion to find a common ground, which led to a more stronger solution. Now, these thoughts will gather only if you take that pause. If you don't take the pause, if you directly jump to answer, you will not even know what to say. Because you're not framing that response in your mind. You're not giving your mind to process the question completely and come up with thoughts. Now, a pro tip here is practice counting 3 in your mind once the interviewer finishes the question. So the pause doesn't have to be like, a minute long. few seconds, 3 to 5 seconds in your head before answering question. Allowing your mind to think clearly and respond confidently. Now you can try this in your everyday conversations to build that habit of embracing that silence. Only then it will come naturally when you're facing the interviewer. Yes? Cool. So what was that next step? Silence filler. Silence is your secret weapon. Now, when the interviewer asked you, why should we hire you? And you respond, I have done similar work before, but I still have a lot to learn. Listen carefully, huh? What you're saying. You're saying, the interviewer asked you, why should we hire you? You're saying, I have done similar work before. I have done similar projects before. And I know that, I have a lot to learn more. I still have to learn more. Now, what happens in this scenario? You are not owning your expertise because you feel you are not experienced enough. You understanding what you did? They ask you, talk about your successes, in your previous role or whatever was the previous project. What was the success? What was your achievement? And you attribute that success by saying that, I was lucky enough to have a team. Or I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. You are not owning your contribution. How will the interviewer understand your value, your worth, if you're giving this response? You understanding the blunders that we make? I'm confident in my ability to lead projects like this. I think I can do it, but I might need some guidance. You are undermining yourself by saying this, by using this weak language. It's weak. You are downplaying your own role by saying that. Now, why you do this is, you sometimes feel like you don't deserve that role or position that you are applying for. Okay? You don't believe in your own accomplishments, in your own achievements. You say, I helped lead a team. Why helped? Why can't you directly say, I led a team? There's a drastic difference in the two sentences, right? When you say, I led the team, you are owning it. You are talking about your contribution. You're talking about your value there. Replace that I helped instead of I led. That describes your contribution. You're worried about how the interviewer will perceive you. You are thinking, what if I come across too confident? Or what if they think I'm not experienced enough? You end up softening your language, or what you do is you are underselling yourself. You are coming across too confident or boastful. You're downplaying your achievements, using that soft language, underselling yourself, feeling like you don't deserve the role, even when you are fully qualified. So you fall in this category if this is who you are. And that category is of self-doubters. You've done amazing things in your career, but when it comes to talk about them, you worry about sounding. Maybe I'm not good enough. Right? Now, how do we flip this scenario? If you underplay your own achievements, if you're underselling your own value, how do you flip that challenge? You have to flip that challenge by owning your worth, owning your value. You have to own it with confidence. Interviewers want to know what you did, not just what your team did. Getting it? We did this project, we did like this, we did this, not we. What you did. Now, when you say this, it's not about arrogance. You're not showing arrogance there. It's about stating the project, stating the facts. Because the interviewer is about you, not for your team. You need to understand that. You are not bragging by doing it. You are showing the impact of your own work. It's okay to take credit of the work or the contributions you have made or what you've achieved by doing that project or by doing something in your current role, in your previous role. That's what the interview is for. They're not interested what your team did. They want to know who you are, what you did. So stop being soft, stop being underplaying your skills or underplaying or underselling your abilities. What's your greatest achievement? Instead of saying I was part of a team that worked on this XYZ successful project, flip it to say I led a team that delivered a project which increased our sales or which increased our revenue by 30% in the last quarter. I ensured that we stayed on the track by creating a detailed timeline and delegating the task effectively. So it was not we, it was you. So always while framing your responses or while you are responding, it has to be I, not we. Okay. So a pro tip to flip this situation here is make a list of your top 3 career achievements and write them in strong, confident language. Use these phrases. I led, I achieved, I delivered, and practice saying them aloud until it feels very natural to you. Yes? Getting the difference? Cool. Own your value, recognize your worth if you are a self-doubter. The next one is you tend to apologize a lot for small mistakes during interviews. Right? When asked about a skill that you are still developing, you say, I'm sorry, I'm still learning that. Now, when you say that sorry, it weakens your response. Don't be an over apologizer. You feel the need to, you feel that need to, excuse yourself or, correct your answers. You say, sorry. Right? even though the interviewer didn't notice that you made a mistake, but when you say that sorry, it highlights the mistakes. Are you getting it? That's category number 5, the over apologizer. Stop saying sorry every now and then. No need to use that unnecessary apologies. Whenever you feel that urge to say sorry for something, try replace it with an assertive language. If you make a small mistake, instead of saying sorry, say, okay, let me try that again. Let me rephrase that for you. Got it? This doesn't undermine your value. This doesn't show that you are weak. Instead of saying sorry, I think I didn't explain that well. Say, let me clarify what I meant. Start noticing how often you are saying sorry. The pro tip here in your daily conversations. Replace those sorry with strong, confident phrases. Like, let me clarify, let me rephrase. Here's what I meant to say. When you say that, you'll sound more polished, more self-assured. How many of you'll do that mistake of saying sorry every now and then? Sorry, boss, I'll do that. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. And that same practice goes to the interview also. Don't do that. That's the biggest blunder we do. People pleasers. The next category. Instead of explaining how you prioritize your task, you say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. The interviewer will ask if you are willing to take on additional responsibilities outside your role. Even if you're not comfortable, you'll say, sure, I'm happy to take on that without even considering if it fits with what you think is right. Whether do you really want to do it? Can you work weekends or extra hours? And you immediately say, yes, I can be flexible. Even though you know you wouldn't want to do that. Yeah? Deep down your heart, you know that nahi, mujhe nahi karna hai weekend pe kaam. I don't want to put in that extra hours. Because we are listening no lot of things about work-life balance. Kyun karna hai? But if you are in this category, you will say yes. So stop being a people pleaser. Flip it by saying, I'm fully committed to delivering high quality work during standard hours. But I also value maintaining balance to bring my best self to the job. And this will not happen immediately. You'll have to practice this response if you're not used to saying no. Mind it. नहीं आएगा ये. Practice करना जरूरी है. Are you comfortable working weekends? I'm fully available during the week, and I believe maintaining balance that allows me to perform at my best. Decide on your non-negotiables. Certain things which is non-negotiable. Write them down. Practice saying them confidently. This is nothing but setting your boundaries very clearly. Yeah? So we covered all of these communication challenges in your interview. And if you really, really work on these things, you'll see that you are taking your interview to the next level. Yes? Was this valuable? So interviewers aren't about getting every word perfect. They are about showing that you can handle the pressure and communicate your value. It's not about impressing the interview. It's about connecting with the interviewer. It's about being yourself. It's about showing your worth, showing your value clearly. Over explaining, apologizing, filling that silence, all undermines your impact in front of that interviewer. Next time you are in an interview, remember this. The power is in how you respond. And as I said, interviews are not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. It's about being authentic. It's about showing your true value. Now you decide which category you belong to. Do you belong to first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or all of those, or a couple of those? And accordingly, you know how to formulate your response. Yes? Learn something new today? Something different which no one told you about? Yes? Superb. Amazing. Amazing. By the way, last week I spoke about the Speak with Authority toolkit. Did you all get that? Team, did we share that in the Facebook group? Okay, no. So they are going to do that. Okay, it's done. It's shared. Please go to the Facebook group and download it. Speak with Authority toolkit. There are 2-3 checklists and some planners that I have shared. It's beautiful. Go through it and start working on it. Was this helpful? With this new insightful, insights that you got today, will you be able to crack your next interviews confidently? Superb, superb, superb. Amazing. So don't forget to join us today again at the same time, 8 p.m. for another powerful session. And what is that? Something stopping your career progress. Oh my God. ये तो देखना पड़ेगा क्या है. I'm sure everyone would want to know this, right? Okay. So along with you, you need to call your friends, your colleagues, your circle. Everyone, share this link with everyone. Join the WhatsApp community if you are a first timer today. And if you want to download the toolkit checklist, then go to the Facebook group. From there, you can download. And yes, this LinkedIn post, share it, reshare it, so that people in your circle, people, your connections get to know about this 30-minute learning session every day. Yeah? Let's help each other and grow together. Don't forget to set your reminder tomorrow for 7:55. Yes? Super. See you all. Thank you. Good night.